There I am. Thank you very much. Oh, what an honor and a pleasure it is to be here today. Some of you I haven't met, and some of you I have. So welcome home. Welcome home. It's a joy and an honor to be here today. When I met Cindy in San Diego, I never knew that I would be standing before you today. So it was your consciousness that has brought me forth to be a candidate for this church. So I am here today to perform, as they often say. You know, I'm on stage here, guys. So, you know, my talk today is about You're Enough. And the reason that I chose this talk was because it meant so much to me. The author of the book is David Walker. He was a CSL minister in California. He was magnificent. I was taking a class with him, and in that time he had just finished his book. And when I read it, I cried like a baby. I said, he's talking about me. He's talking about my life, my fantasy when I was a little girl growing up. Because I kept saying, these aren't my real parents. These aren't my real parents. I belong in a castle with the kings and queens, and I'm a little princess. So to me, it kind of meant a lot, but more than that, what I learned from the book was that I was enough. I was enough just the way I was. I was perfect, I was whole, I was complete. It didn't matter that I had all freckles. It didn't matter when I went through puberty that I was filled with pimples. It didn't matter that my hair wasn't curly like my sister's. What mattered was that I was more than enough. You know, and sometimes in life, when we're growing up and we go to school or we're brought up in different cultures, sometimes we think we are mothers, we are fathers, we are teachers, we are ministers, we are musicians, we are chaplains. We are the technical people. But that's not really who we are. That just says something about us. That says what we do, but it's not who we are. And to me, that was an awakening. That was back in the, I would say probably the middle 90s when I had found this out. I was going through minister school at the time. But I didn't realize that, and I went, whoa. So because I say that I'm Linda Fisher, a mother of 2 children, I'm studying to be a minister, that's not who I am? Well, who am I? And David always said, you are more today than you'll ever be. The enoughness that is within you is God. God is the presence of who you are and how you show up in life. And what examples do you leave with your children? You are not that minister to be. You are an individual that is loved. You are your mind. And I went, what is he talking about? Not my mind? How can it be my mind when I have a body and I have eyes and ears and I have ear? And it took me a while to really comprehend that. But once I did, it changed my whole life. Because when people said, who are you? And I'd say, I'm God. And they'd go, what? And I'd say, I'm an expression of God. We are all that expression of God. That seed was planted way before we were born. But sometimes it takes a lifetime to realize it, that the presence of the Almighty God lives within us. And once we grasp that thought, the whole life changes. The whole life changes. You know, it's like, take out, for example, you take a seed. Now, maybe it could be a flower. Maybe it could be an herb. Maybe it could be fruit. When we take that, when we plant that seed in the soil, we know that the soil is already enough just the way it is. Then we take time to water it. And as we water it, it takes growth, right? And then before we know it, we have something magnificent. And we go, wow, how did if that little seed creates something so magnificent? Now maybe it's something to nurture our body, or maybe it's a tree that stands 500 feet high. But that seed is like that seed within us. From the time we were little, we learned how to walk, we learned how to talk, we learned how to dance, and I like to dance. And then we learned how to talk, and then we learned fear, then we learned resentment, then we learned maybe love. So many things we learned along the way is who you are today. And who you are today is that creative being of beauty, of love, of joy. Just think of the legacy that we're going to leave when we leave this planet and move to the next beyond. What is your legacy that you would like to leave on Mother Earth today? What is it you want people to remember you by? For me, it's love. She was a teacher of love. She came from her heart and not from her mind. When she spoke, she met me where I am. That is what love is accepting that beauty that you're beautiful. Think about it. When you get up in the morning, what do you tell yourself? Oh, God, I don't want to go to church. Oh, too many drinks last night. Oh, I couldn't sleep all night. I stayed up and watched that late movie. Or do we get up and say, wow, today's going to be an awesome day. Man, I'm going to have fun. I'm going to meet new people. I'm going to go to church and break bread with friends. I'm going to do something magnificent. You set that intention for the day, and when you set that intention for the day, guess what, guys? That's what shows up. So if we think that we're great, we're marvelous, we're beautiful, we are that divine expression of God, that's what shows up in life. But when we wake up and say, oh, you know, my life's in the toilet. Not very good. I don't know. You know what? Life is tough. Boy, I'm miserable. Do you want to hang out with me? No. It's how we show up in life. Do we want to dance and be free? You know, I tell everybody, I'm only 39, and I'm going to live to be 125. You want to come with me? And my partner says, are you kidding? 125? No way! And I think I'll still be here, healthy, dancing, feeling good, because that's what my mindset is. Because age is only a figure, but that does not define who you are. You are always that creative being that says, hey guys, come with me. I'm going to sing a song, and I'm going to change the world. So things like that we put in our mind happens every day. David Walker had said many things. He had taught me to be more than I am today. And that helped me in my ministry, because where I grew up, and as you know, I got a little bit of an accent, it was in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And it snowed an awful lot back there. And many a winter, I shoveled a lot of snow. And that was one of the reasons why I left Boston, and I came out to California, and then lived in New York, and who would ever thought I'd be in Washington? I love it here, guys. Do you know how fabulous this place is? I said, I could never get lost. I can go around that island, and I'll always come back to where I started from. I saw the most beautiful homes. I saw the most beautiful gardens, and I went, oh, I don't want to leave. Maybe they'll say, come and stay. We want you for our minister. And I'm going, yay! So I was kind of celebrating in my own way. When I prepare for a talk, I do the talk, and then I do the talk again, and then I get up there, and I don't know what I did before, so something new comes through. Because I always leave it to Spirit. And I feel if I touch one life when I do a talk, God has used me in a great way. So to me, life is what you make it, guys. Life can either be magnificent or it can be in between. It can be fabulous, or it can be miserable. We all have choices to make. And when we make those choices, hey, before you know it, especially if you're in the happy side, people want to hang out with you. They want to say, hey, come on, come to dinner. Hey, let's go out. But we're on the other side of the thing, and oh, my life, and oh, wait till I tell you all the stories. Oh, maybe you'll love me a little bit more. Because maybe I've walked in your shoes. Because life is about stories. It's about who we are and how we present ourselves in so many ways. It took me a long time to learn that. You know, when I was growing up, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up in Cambridge, Mass. My grandparents lived up in Somerville, Mass, and they raised me. My parents never raised me, and I didn't really get to know my parents probably until I was in my late 20s, and that was okay. I was born, my feet weren't really formed the way they were, and they showed me pictures later where I had a bar. I don't know if you ever remember it, way back when. It was only yesterday, though. And then when I was in the crib, there was this bar with shoes on, and they were trying to straighten out my feet. And I had a heart murmur. Well, in those days, a heart murmur was a big thing, but you know, I couldn't run, I couldn't swim, there was a lot of things I wanted to dance, they told me I couldn't dance. So I was protected my whole life, and I was told I wasn't enough. I never amount to anything. And you know, without realizing it, that was my grandmother's philosophy. But that wasn't who I was. So I grew up with kind of a few hang-ups here and there, and you may relate to this and you may not. You may say, wow, I understand, because somebody told me once I wasn't enough. When I went to school, I had trouble sort of pronouncing things, so a lot of kids laughed and kind of poked at me and things like that. I had a teacher that if I didn't write just right, she'd slap me with the ruler on my hand. I had an English teacher that I never wanted to come up and, you know, perform in front of the class or do a lesson. So he used to put me in the corner with a little dunce hat. So you can see there were things I had to overcome and challenge as a girl growing up. And the kids in school would bully me. You know, at those times they didn't have that name for them. And I was afraid to tell my grandmother. And she'd say, you gotta go to school. So I gotta go, oh no, I'm sick, I can't go, I gotta cough. I was doing everything I could not to go to school because I didn't want to be picked on. So when I went to school, I kind of got tough. You know how you get tough with yourself and you're gonna get, yeah, I'm gonna stalk that person if they come after me again. But I endured it and I got through it okay. So it made me strong. It made me determined. There's a minister that says, don't let Reverend Linda get hold of anything, because she's like a bulldog, man. She don't let go. When she has a vision, watch out, guys, because it happens. And I do have a vision. I have a vision to grow a church. It's my dream. Remember Martin Luther King when he said, I have a dream? Man, I took that in my heart, and I said, yes, I have a dream. I have a dream to grow a church with loving, wonderful, incredible individuals that support me and support their church, their building, their center, whatever you want to call it. It's a time together to come and connect and be spiritually filled. And here's something that you can get your teeth into. Do me a favor, hug yourself. Now say to yourself, I am amazing.
I am amazing.
How's that feel? Good.
Amazing.
That's what I learned. I learned to overcome a lot of things in my life. I learned to be proud of who I was becoming. When I walked into a religious science church, you'll often hear people say, religion changed my life. It saved me. It saved me. Because I was on a quest for searching. I was brought up a Protestant, I met a boyfriend. I had a boyfriend that was Catholic. And being from Boston, I don't know if you know anything about it, but Catholics and Protestants didn't come together. They were going to go to hell in a handbag. And my grandmother would say, you can't be with him. Well, I was engaged to be married, and she did everything in her power to break it up. You know, at the time that kind of bothered me, because I really thought I loved this boy. Thank God I didn't marry him. My grandmother knew better than I did. But it was because of the religion. You can't do that. And I didn't know. That was the first thing I learned about being judgmental. And I thought, oh, no, why can't we all be one? So in my youth coming up and unbeknown to me, I always knew that there was something within me that was more. When I studied the Catholic religion, I thought, I can't go to confession. He wears pants just like me. How can he tell me to do 10 Hail Marys? You know, he's only a man. So nothing ever really resonated to me. You know, I looked into the Buddhist, the Jewish. I mean, I looked at all of the religions. And when I walked into the CSL church, I was home. Like you're home. And we both, unity and CSL, is the same thing. We're just saying it in a different way.
Yes.
Yes, amen. So to me, life is what? I'm sorry. Church of Religious Science. Center for Spiritual Living. Global Truth. Church of Love, Church of Hope. We all have different names, but we're all saying the same thing. Because we're all on different paths in religion, which I found out that's silver thread, but we're all going to one God, the God that is within us. And I thought, wow, why didn't I learn that years ago? Think of all the stuff that I could have avoided in my life if I'd only known that when I was little. But the seed was planted before I knew it. When I was born, that seed was planted, that you were going to be a minister. When I was growing up and I used to say, I want to be a priest, and they say, you can't do that. That's a man's job. I thought, well, I want to be a nun. Oh, you don't want to do that. You can never see your family. I thought, oh God, isn't there something out there for me? But that was before women had the rights to speak. That's before women could walk into a cocktail lounge where it said men only. They had to do away with that, trying to let the women in. We find out the dirt bed, didn't we, girls? You know, life changes. And people say to me, I don't like change, Reverend Linda. And I said, you change your hair? You change your underwear? I hope you take it back. Change is good. Think about it. Years ago, back in the 30s, 40s, whatever, 20s, I don't know, whoever thought of a microwave? What's a microwave? What's a cell phone? You know, what's a dishwasher? I mean, think of the things and how far we advanced. Even landing on the moon. I think Ricky and Lucy Ball had a show, and they did landing on the, you know, they were flying to the moon. And I thought, wow, they knew way back then. And then we finally did land on the moon. That's called change. So change is good. If you want your own church and you want to be in your own building, to call it your own, that's change. And change comes with sponsorship. It becomes with ownership. It becomes with tithing to your church. Maybe putting the church name in your will. What sort of legacy do you want to be remembered by? Do you want a building named after you? Think about it. People say to me, well, I've got 7 grandchildren, I've got great-grandchildren, and I've got this property, and I've got that property, and I've got to leave it to my children. I said, it's wonderful how fortunate you are to be that wealthy. How about 10% back to the church at that? And they go, I can do that. You know, when I talk about building a church, I never know who's going to be sitting in the audience that will write $1 million check. And people say to me, Reverend Linda, you're crazy. And I said, no, I'm not. I put the end result and I put it out there in the universe, and then I just sit back and I just wait for that big check to come in. I have never been broke. I always have $1 million fake bill in my wallet that reminds me that life is unlimited, so is an income. I give more than I normally do. I support many, many organizations, and musicians, and community, because the more I give, it's all energy. It's energy evolving. It takes care of the postman. It takes care of the lumberjack that cut down the tree for us to have paper. When you think about money, money is electricity. Think about it. Take your hands. I'm going to put this down, Mark. Take your hands and rub them. Get them really going, really, really good. Really good. Feel the heat coming? Now go like this. Feel the energy? That's prosperity. That's prosperity. Feel that energy coming in and that heat. I mean, you don't want too much heat coming in. Feel it? That's too, is prosperity. Prosperity is more than just money. It's a card. It's saying, I love you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for your beautiful smile. That's all prosperity. It's the labels we put on it that define what it is. But it's us as individuals, because we are love. We are creative beings. Our hair, our wrinkles, our smiles, our teeth, our feet, everything is perfectly whole and complete, because you are that expression of the Almighty. You have been created just as you are. Every hair, every wrinkle, everything, beautiful eyes. Sometimes I look at people's eyes and I go, oh my God, you just glow. You're beautiful. That's all I have to say to somebody. And they feel that presence within them. So I'm kind of a crazy minister. People kind of say, hey, Linda, kind of loosen up a little bit. And I, well, maybe I might do a little dance. I don't know. Whatever God inspires me to do. And I think, hey, wow, I can still move. Woohoo, watch out, world, here I come. It's those things that we do and how we show up every day. Because life is what we make it, guys. And knowing that life is what we make it, life can really blossom even more. When you start at the end first, then you know where you want to end up. And it's easier to find your way. This is one of the most profound and important principles of success. That's just how it is in life. If you know where you want to end up, it's a whole lot easier to find your way. So where do you want to go in life? Where do you want to be? Where do you want to be in 6 months? Do you want to be in your own church? What do you want to do? Maybe take a cruise? Maybe fall in love? Maybe get a divorce? I don't know. You know, life is what we make it. And it's the energy and love that we put into it is what, what shows up in our life. I am so blessed and so honored to be here today. Really. You guys are in an incredible state. I have felt more love, more beauty. I have been pampered, catered on, taken all over this beautiful, magnificent, what I call an island. Mark and Cindy have gone way beyond the red carpet treatment. I felt like just the way I think I'm a princess. That's how I felt. You've got a great, great, great volunteer group. Music, oh my God. You are blessed so much and so incredible. To have the tour, to learn about Washington. So many things I didn't know, and I thought, Well, geography wasn't my greatest subject. As long as I have a directional to get me around, I'll be okay, because I don't know southwest, northeast. Give me the landmarks, then I'll know where I'm going. But that's just who I am. I'm a very dedicated minister. I love to teach. I love to see people smile. I love to see them when they glow, maybe letting go of something, feeling lighter, feeling blessed. We all need that. So let me say one thing before I close. Love is everything. Never go to bed mad. Never go to bed with a grudge. Always remember to say, I love me first, therefore I can love you. It's a beautiful thing when you think those things, because when you don't forgive somebody, it can affect your body. It's been proven when I just went through just finished my doctorate, and I did it on forgiveness, and I never realized. In the hospital today, when people have cancer, there's ministers that show up that teach them how to forgive, to let go of the burden that they've been carrying for so long. I never knew that. And I thought, where have I been? How long have I been a minister? And him just finding that out. But you know, the message comes when the teacher's ready. And when the teacher's ready, the student appears. So it's all learning. It's all coming from that place within and remembering how precious we all are. And I think I'm going a little long, so I better shut up. Because you know it's dangerous when you give a minister a mic. Sometimes we don't know how to stop. So I want to honor all of your time today. I am so blessed and so honored to be here and to be a part of this community. But I'll leave you with one thought. Love only, forgive everything, and remember who you are, because you are that great creation of the almighty presence of God. So please join me and go within as I close this talk out. So just take a deep breath and just breathe in that precious air of life. And as you let go, just release all the love that is within your heart. Remember, today is a brand new day. Today is a day of remembering the beauty of who you are, or who have you come to be. For this is life. And life is how we show up in the universe, and what we give, and what we can do for a fellow soul. So remember that your presence, that your joy, that infinite presence of the Almighty that is within each and every one of us says yes to life, because it is a brand new day. Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow hasn't come yet. So living in that present moment is the beauty of life. And I say yes to life. I say yes to who I am and where I will end up in this magnificent universe. So be kind, be loved, and remember most of all, you are that divine expression of the Almighty, that spirit that lives within you, and whatever name you call it, Father, Mother, God, spiritual being, Jesus, Abba, Buddha, whatever that may be, even Big Daddy, just know that you are that divine expression always. So thank you, Father, Mother God, for this time, for this creative, incredible membership that is here. Because I feel so blessed in knowing that we are all one. And together we say, and so it is.